Don't come for Christmas, my mom said softly. We'll act like we don't know you, my sister added. I didn't argue. I just did something else instead. When her boyfriend saw my picture at the party, he dumped her. 5 days later. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon in mid-December. I was sitting in my Chicago apartment, grading papers from my high school English classes, when my phone buzzed with Mom's contact photo. Her voice was different from the start, softer, more hesitant than usual. Megan, honey, we need to talk about Christmas this year. I set down my red pen, already sensing where this was headed. What about Christmas, Mom? There was a long pause, and I could hear my sister Jessica's voice in the background, urging her on. Finally, Mom spoke again. Don't come for Christmas. It would be better if you stayed away this year. The words hit me like a physical blow. What do you mean, don't come? It's Christmas, Mom. We always spend Christmas together. Not this year, Megan. Jessica thinks, we think, it would be too awkward. With everything that happened with Derek. Derek. My ex-fiancé who had cheated on me with not one, but 3 different women during our 2-year engagement. The same Derek who my family had welcomed with open arms, who had charmed them all with his fake smile and empty promises. The same Derek who had somehow convinced them that our breakup was mutual, that I was too career-focused and not ready for marriage. Mom, Derek cheated on me. Multiple times. You know this. Well, that's your side of the story, honey. Derek says things were more complicated than that. Before I could respond, I heard Jessica grab the phone. My younger sister's voice came through the speaker, sharp and dismissive. Look, Megan, we'll act like we don't know you if you show up. Derek's been really good to this family, helping Dad with his business loans, taking care of Mom when she had her surgery. We're not going to make this weird for everyone just because you couldn't make your relationship work. The line went dead. I sat there in my empty apartment, staring at my phone in disbelief. My own family was choosing my cheating ex-fiancé over me. Jessica, who I had helped through college, who I had supported through her own breakup disasters, who I had been there for through thick and thin, was essentially disowning me for the holidays. But I didn't argue. I didn't call back screaming or crying. Instead, I did something else entirely. The first thing I did was open my laptop and start typing. As an English teacher, I knew the power of words, and I had a story to tell. But more than that, I knew something about Jessica that she had forgotten I knew. Something that would change everything. You see, Jessica had been dating Tyler Morrison for 3 years. Tyler was a decent guy from what I could tell, worked in construction, coached Little League on weekends, planned to propose to Jessica after the holidays. He was steady, reliable, and completely devoted to my sister. He was also incredibly insecure about Jessica's past relationships and had specifically asked her to be completely honest about her romantic history. Jessica had lied to him. Repeatedly. She had told Tyler she'd only had 2 serious boyfriends before him. The truth was that she'd had 7, including a 3-month affair with a married man named Brad Hutchinson, her boss at the marketing firm where she'd worked 2 years ago. I knew about Brad because Jessica had confessed everything to me during a tearful phone call one night, begging me never to tell anyone because it would destroy Tyler if he found out. I had kept her secret. Until now. The party was Jessica's idea, ironically. She was throwing a big holiday gathering at Mom and Dad's house on December 23rd, basically a family Christmas without me. She'd invited all the extended family friends, and of course, Tyler would be there. She'd even invited Derek, making sure everyone knew he was still part of the family. What Jessica didn't know was that I had remained friends with several people who would be at that party. My cousin Amanda, who thought the whole situation was ridiculous. My childhood friend Rachel, whose parents were still close with mine. And most importantly, my Aunt Margaret, Dad's sister, who had never liked Jessica's attitude and thought I was getting a raw deal. I spent the next week carefully crafting my plan. It wasn't about revenge, exactly. It was about truth. About making sure the people who claimed to care about family values actually had to confront them. The photographs were the key. I had a whole collection of them on my old phone, photos from Jessica's 26th birthday party 2 years ago. Photos that clearly showed her getting very cozy with Brad Hutchinson at a bar downtown, including several where they were obviously more than just boss and employee. Photos that Jessica had begged me to delete at the time, which I had promised to do. I had lied. Just like she had lied to Tyler. I created a simple online photo album, the kind you might make to share vacation pictures with family. I included the photos of Jessica and Brad, but I was clever about it. I mixed them in with innocent family photos from various gatherings, birthday parties, graduations. To a casual observer, it might look like just another family photo collection. But to someone who knew what to look for, the truth would be obvious. Then I sent a link to Amanda with a simple message, found these old family photos on my phone. Feel free to share with everyone at the party. So many good memories. Amanda, bless her heart, was the type of person who loved sharing photos at family gatherings. She had a habit of pulling out her phone and showing pictures to anyone who would look. I knew she'd have the album open on her phone within minutes of arriving at the party. The party was on December 23rd. I spent that evening at my apartment, having ordered Chinese takeout and settled in to watch Christmas movies. I had my phone nearby, waiting. The first text came from Amanda at 9:47 p.m. OMG Megan, you need to know what happened. Then the details started flooding in. Amanda had been showing the photos to various family members throughout the evening, just as I had predicted. Aunt Margaret had looked through them on Amanda's phone, then asked to see them again. Rachel's mom had scrolled through them while discussing old memories. But the moment that changed everything was when Tyler Morrison sat down next to Amanda on the couch and asked to see the family photos everyone was talking about. Amanda, not thinking anything of it, handed him her phone with the album open. Tyler spent about 10 minutes scrolling through the pictures, smiling at family shots and asking questions about various relatives he hadn't met. Then he reached the photos from Jessica's birthday party. According to Amanda, Tyler's face went completely white. He stared at the photos for a long time, zooming in on specific images. Then he stood up abruptly and walked over to where Jessica was laughing with Derek and some cousins by the fireplace. Jessica, can I talk to you privately? What happened next was witnessed by half the party. Tyler showed Jessica the photos on Amanda's phone. Jessica's face went through a series of expressions: confusion, recognition, panic, and finally, anger. Where did these come from? She demanded, loud enough for everyone to hear. Your cousin Amanda has been showing family photos. These are mixed in with them. Want to explain to me who this man is and why you're kissing him in what looks like a very intimate setting? The party got very quiet very quickly. Jessica looked around desperately, her eyes landing on Amanda, who looked completely confused about why this was suddenly her fault. Those photos. They're taken out of context, Jessica stammered. Out of context? Tyler's voice was getting louder. Jessica, you told me you'd only had 2 serious relationships before me. You swore to me that you'd never cheated on anyone, that honesty was the most important thing to you. Who is this man? Derek, apparently thinking he was being helpful, chose this moment to interject. Tyler, buddy, calm down. I'm sure there's an explanation. Tyler turned to Derek with a look that could have melted steel. And you are? Derek Williams. Jessica's. Well, I used to date her sister Megan. I'm practically family. The irony was not lost on me when Amanda texted me this detail later. Tyler looked back at Jessica. Is this one of the 2 serious relationships you told me about? Jessica's silence was answer enough. We need to talk. Now. Outside. They left the party, and according to Amanda, they could be heard arguing loudly in the front yard for about 20 minutes. When Tyler came back inside, he was alone. He walked straight to where my parents were standing. Mr. and Mrs. Patterson, I'm sorry for the disruption at your party. I'm going home now. I won't be joining your family for Christmas tomorrow, and I won't be proposing to Jessica as I had planned. Please tell her she can pick up her things from my apartment after the holidays. Then he left. Jessica came back inside about 10 minutes later, crying and furious. She immediately confronted Amanda. Why did you have those photos? Where did you get them? Amanda, still confused, explained that I had sent them to her as family photos to share at the party. That's when Jessica put it together. Megan did this. She screamed, loud enough for the entire party to hear. She sent those photos on purpose. She knew Tyler would see them. The party essentially ended at that point. According to Amanda, Jessica spent the rest of the evening crying and ranting about what a terrible person I was, how I had ruined her life, how I was jealous and vindictive. But something else happened that night that I hadn't expected. Several family members, including Aunt Margaret and Rachel's parents, started asking questions about why I hadn't been invited to Christmas in the first place. When the story came out about Derek and the cheating allegations, and how the family had chosen to believe Derek over me, people started taking sides. Aunt Margaret was particularly vocal. She pointed out that Derek had always seemed too smooth to her, and that it was suspicious how quickly he had ingratiated himself with the family after I had accused him of cheating. She also noted that I had never lied to the family before, while Derek was essentially a stranger to them. By Christmas morning, the family was in complete chaos. Jessica was devastated about Tyler, Mom was fielding angry phone calls from various relatives who thought I had been treated unfairly, and Dad was apparently questioning whether they had made the right decision about Christmas. I spent Christmas Day alone, as planned, but I wasn't as upset about it as I thought I would be. I had Chinese food again, watched old movies, and read a good book. Around noon, I got a text from Amanda. Tyler just posted on Facebook that he's single. Jessica is losing her mind. Half the family thinks you're evil, half thinks you're a genius. Aunt Margaret wants to invite you to her New Year's party. Also, Derek apparently made some comment about how women can't be trusted and Dad actually told him to leave. Thought you should know. The next few days were a whirlwind of phone calls and texts. Some family members were furious with me, calling what I had done manipulative and cruel. Others were starting to realize that maybe there had been more to my breakup with Derek than they had understood. The breaking point came on December 28th, when Derek made a crucial mistake. He called me. "Megan, you need to fix this situation with Jessica. This isn't about us anymore. You're destroying her life because you're angry at me." "I'm not angry at you, Derek. I'm over you. This isn't about you at all." "Then why did you do it? Why did you ruin her relationship?" "I didn't ruin her relationship. She ruined her relationship by lying to Tyler about her past. I just made sure he had access to the truth." "You're being vindictive." "Am I?" "Derek, let me ask you something. When you were cheating on me with Sarah Mitchell, and Kelly Rodriguez, and what was her name? Oh right, Amanda Stevens. Did you think I would never find out?" There was a long silence on the other end of the phone. "That's different," he finally said. "No, Derek, it's not different. You lied to me for 2 years. You convinced my family that I was the problem in our relationship. You made them choose between us, and they chose you. All I did was make sure that the truth had a chance to come out. So this is about revenge." "No, Derek. Revenge would have been posting those photos of you and Kelly on social media with your name attached. Revenge would have been sending the screenshots of your messages with Sarah to your boss. Revenge would have been telling your mother about Amanda Stevens at Thanksgiving dinner last year when I had the chance." Another long silence. "You have screenshots of my messages?" I smiled, even though he couldn't see me. "Derek, I'm a high school teacher. I know how to document evidence of inappropriate behavior. I kept records of everything. Every lie, every betrayal, every time you tried to gaslight me into thinking I was crazy for being suspicious. Why didn't you show them to your family?" "Because I shouldn't have to prove to my family that I'm telling the truth. They should have believed me because I'm their daughter and sister, and I had never lied to them before in my life." The conversation ended there, but Derek had made another crucial error. He had essentially confessed to the cheating, and he had done it over a phone call that I had recorded. What I didn't expect was what happened next. Over the following days, as word of Derek's confession spread through the family, other people started coming forward with their own observations and suspicions about him. Aunt Margaret called me on December 29th. "Megan, I need to tell you something. I never liked Derek, but I kept my mouth shut because your parents seemed so taken with him." "What didn't you like about him?" "Everything. The way he was always so eager to help with money matters, offering to co-sign loans and handle financial advice. It felt manipulative, like he was making himself indispensable. And the way he talked about you when you weren't around." My stomach dropped. "What did he say about me?" "He would make little comments about how you were high maintenance and difficult to please. He'd roll his eyes when you called him during family gatherings, or sigh dramatically when you had to leave early for work. He made it seem like he was this long-suffering fiancé dealing with an unreasonable woman." The revelation hit me like a physical blow. Derek had been undermining me with my family for months, maybe years, laying the groundwork for them to see me as the problem in our relationship. "Aunt Margaret, why didn't you say anything?" "Because I thought I might be reading too much into it. And because your parents were so happy about your engagement. I didn't want to cause trouble over what might have been harmless comments." "They weren't harmless." "No, they weren't. And I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner." My cousin Rachel called the next day with a similar story. "Megan, Derek used to complain about you to my mom at family events. He'd say things like how you were too focused on your career, how you didn't appreciate everything he did for you. Mom always found it strange, but she thought maybe he was just venting normal relationship frustrations. Then my father called, and that conversation was the most painful of all. "Megan, I owe you the biggest apology of my life. Derek told me things that made me question whether you were being entirely honest about your relationship problems." "What kinds of things, Dad?" "He said you were jealous of his female coworkers. He said you went through his phone and accused him of cheating without any real evidence. He made it sound like you were being paranoid and controlling." I closed my eyes, feeling the familiar sting of Derek's gaslighting even now, months after our breakup. "Dad, I went through his phone because he was cheating. The evidence I didn't have was actually screenshots, text messages, and photos that I kept in a folder on my computer." "You have evidence?" "I've had evidence this entire time. Derek convinced me that sharing it would make me look vindictive and obsessed. He said that airing our private business would hurt both of us, and that the mature thing to do was to just end the relationship quietly." "Can you show me?" It was a conversation I had never wanted to have with my father, but Derek's manipulation had forced my hand. I spent an hour walking Dad through the timeline of Derek's betrayals, the late nights that didn't add up, the mysterious charges on credit cards, the photos I had found on his phone, the messages from other women that he had tried to explain away. By the end of the conversation, Dad was quiet for a long time. "Megan, I don't know how to apologize for this. We should have believed you. We should have supported you. Instead, we let him convince us that you were the problem. Dad, Derek is very good at manipulation. He's charming, he's convincing, and he tells people what they want to hear. You wanted to believe that your future son-in-law was a good guy, so you believed his version of events. That's no excuse for abandoning our daughter. It wasn't, but I appreciated that he could acknowledge it. Meanwhile, Jessica was spiraling. According to Mom, she had been calling Tyler multiple times a day, begging him to talk to her, to give her another chance, to let her explain. Tyler had blocked her number after the third day of constant calls and texts. Jessica had also been stalking Tyler's social media obsessively, analyzing every photo and comment for signs of what he was thinking or feeling. When he posted a picture of himself at a New Year's Eve party with a woman named Claire, just two of them smiling at the camera, Jessica had a complete breakdown. She showed up at my apartment on January 2nd, unannounced and clearly having been crying for hours. "Megan, please. I need your help." I almost didn't let her in. After everything that had happened, after the way she had treated me, part of me wanted to slam the door in her face. But she was still my sister, and she looked genuinely desperate. "What do you want, Jessica?" "I want Tyler back. I know you're angry with me, and I know I screwed up, but I need your help getting him back." I stared at her in disbelief. "Jessica, you want me to help you get back together with the man you were lying to? The man you broke up with because I exposed your lies? You don't understand. I love him. I was going to tell him about Brad eventually. I just needed more time." "How much more time?" "Tyler was planning to propose to you. Were you going to tell him before or after the wedding?" "I don't know. Maybe after we were married and more secure in our relationship. Maybe when we were older and it wouldn't matter as much." "Jessica, do you hear yourself? You were planning to marry Tyler while keeping major secrets about your past. That's not love, that's fraud." She started crying harder. "I made a mistake. People make mistakes. You've never made mistakes in relationships. I've made plenty of mistakes. But I've never built a relationship on lies. I've never deliberately deceived someone about fundamental aspects of my history." "So you're not going to help me?" "Help you do what? Lie to Tyler more effectively? Convince him to take back someone who betrayed his trust? Help me show him that I've changed. That I've learned from this." I looked at my sister, really looked at her. Her hair was unwashed, her clothes were wrinkled, and her eyes were red and swollen from crying. She looked like someone who had lost something important, but I wasn't sure she understood what she had actually lost. "Jessica, what have you learned?" "That I shouldn't have lied to Tyler." "About what specifically?" "About Brad. About my past relationships." "And why shouldn't you have lied about those things?" She looked confused by the question. Because Tyler found out and it hurt him? That's not why you shouldn't have lied, Jessica. You shouldn't have lied because Tyler deserved to know the truth about the person he was planning to marry. You shouldn't have lied because honest relationships require both people to be honest. You shouldn't have lied because lying to someone you claim to love is a fundamental betrayal of trust. I was trying to protect him. No, you were trying to protect yourself. You were afraid that if Tyler knew the truth about your past, he might not want to be with you. So you decided to take that choice away from him by lying. Jessica was quiet for a long moment. What was I supposed to do? Tell him about every mistake I've ever made? You were supposed to be honest about the things that matter to him. Tyler specifically asked you to be truthful about your romantic history because it was important to him. And you chose to lie. I didn't think it mattered. But it mattered to Tyler. And in a relationship, if something matters to your partner, it should matter to you too. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. I know I messed up. But don't I deserve a second chance? Jessica, that's not up to me. It's up to Tyler. And based on his social media activity, it looks like he's moved on. With that Claire woman. With someone who presumably didn't lie to him about fundamental aspects of her past. The words were harsh, but they were true. Jessica had created this situation through her own choices, and now she was experiencing the natural consequences of those choices. I lost him because of you, she said quietly. No, you lost him because of you. I just made sure he had access to information that you were hiding from him. Information that you promised to keep secret. Information that you were using to deceive someone else. Jessica, when you asked me to keep Brad a secret, you told me it was because you were ashamed of the affair and wanted to put it behind you. You didn't tell me you were planning to lie to Tyler about it. I wasn't planning anything. It just happened. You made a conscious choice every time Tyler asked you about your past relationships and you didn't mention Brad. That wasn't something that just happened. That was a deliberate decision to deceive him. Jessica stood up abruptly. I can't believe you're being so cold about this. He was going to be your brother-in-law. No, he wasn't. He was going to be the husband of someone who had been lying to him about fundamental aspects of her character and history. That marriage would have been built on deception from day one. People can change. Yes, they can. But change requires acknowledging what you did wrong and why it was wrong. It requires taking responsibility for your choices and their consequences. So far, all you've done is blame me for Tyler finding out the truth. She stared at me for a long moment, and I could see her processing what I had said. For just a moment, I thought she might actually understand. Then her expression hardened. You're enjoying this. You're enjoying watching me suffer. No, Jessica. I'm not enjoying this at all. I'm sad that my sister built her relationship on lies. I'm sad that she chose to exclude me from Christmas rather than support me through a difficult time. I'm sad that it took this kind of dramatic revelation for our family to acknowledge that Derek was lying about our relationship. So what happens now? Now you figure out how to live with the consequences of your choices. Just like I had to figure out how to live with Derek's cheating and betrayal. At least Derek wants to make things right. I laughed, short and bitter. Derek doesn't want to make things right. Derek wants to avoid the social consequences of his actions. There's a difference. Jessica left that day without another word, and I didn't hear from her again for several weeks. I didn't plan to use the recording, but I didn't need to. Derek, apparently feeling guilty or pressured, went to my parents' house that afternoon and confessed everything. He admitted to the cheating, admitted to lying about our breakup being mutual, and admitted that he had been manipulating the family's perception of me to maintain his relationship with them. According to Mom, who called me in tears that evening, Derek had hoped that coming clean would somehow repair the damage and allow him to maintain his place in the family. Instead, Dad had been so angry that he had physically escorted Derek from the house and told him never to come back. Megan, honey, I am so sorry, Mom sobbed into the phone. We believed him over you. Our own daughter. I don't know how to make this right. I don't know either, Mom. Will you come to New Year's dinner? Please. We need to talk about this as a family. I thought about it for a long time. Is Jessica going to be there? Yes, but, then no. Jessica made it clear that she would act like she doesn't know me if I showed up somewhere she didn't want me. I'm going to extend her the same courtesy. Megan, please. She's heartbroken about Tyler. She's learned her lesson. Mom, Jessica didn't learn a lesson. Jessica got caught. There's a difference. But the story wasn't over yet. On New Year's Eve, I was at Aunt Margaret's party, as she had indeed invited me. It was a small gathering, mostly her friends and a few family members who had sided with me during the Christmas drama. I was actually having a good time, feeling supported and validated for the first time in months. Around 10 p.m., Jessica showed up. She looked terrible. She had clearly been crying, her makeup was smudged, and she looked like she hadn't slept in days. Aunt Margaret tried to intercept her at the door, but Jessica pushed past her and made a beeline for me. Megan, we need to talk. No, we don't. Yes, we do. You ruined my life? Tyler won't even talk to me. He's been posting pictures with other women on social media. He's moved on completely, and it's all your fault. The party got quiet, with everyone watching this confrontation unfold. Jessica, Tyler broke up with you because you lied to him about your past relationships. That has nothing to do with me. You deliberately sent those photos knowing he would see them. Yes, I did. The admission surprised her. She had expected me to deny it or make excuses. You admit it? Of course I admit it. You told me that you and the family would act like you don't know me. You chose Derek, a cheating liar, over me. You decided that family loyalty was conditional based on who you liked better at the moment. So I decided to show you what conditional family loyalty actually looks like. By destroying my relationship? Jessica, I didn't destroy your relationship. Your lies destroyed your relationship. I just made sure Tyler had access to the same information that you had been hiding from him. If your relationship was built on honesty and trust, those photos wouldn't have mattered. You're my sister. You're supposed to protect me. The room was dead silent now. Everyone was staring at us. You're right, Jessica. I am your sister. And sisters are supposed to support each other, believe each other, and stand by each other when times get tough. But you decided that Derek was more important than I was. You decided that maintaining a relationship with a man who cheated on me repeatedly was more valuable than having a relationship with me. I stood up, facing her directly. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to leave this party, because you weren't invited and you're not welcome here. You're going to go home and think long and hard about what family loyalty actually means. And if you ever want to have a relationship with me again, you're going to start by admitting that you were wrong about Derek, you were wrong about Christmas, and you were wrong about me. And if I don't? Then you can continue acting like you don't know me. Just like you promised. Jessica stared at me for a long moment, tears streaming down her face. Then she turned and left without another word. The party continued, but the energy had shifted. Aunt Margaret came over and hugged me tightly. That girl needed to hear that, she said quietly. I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. Over the next few weeks, the family dynamics continued to shift. Mom and Dad both called me repeatedly, trying to apologize and rebuild our relationship. Some relatives reached out to express support. Others remained silent, apparently still processing everything that had happened. Derek disappeared completely from our social circles, which was probably for the best. Tyler, according to mutual friends, was indeed dating someone new and seemed much happier. He had apparently told people that finding out about Jessica's dishonesty had been painful but ultimately a blessing, as it had shown him her true character before he proposed. And Jessica? Jessica struggled. She moved back in with Mom and Dad temporarily, claiming she needed time to figure out her life. She lost her job due to poor performance, apparently stemming from the emotional turmoil of losing Tyler. She posted dramatic social media messages about betrayal and family loyalty, but most people seemed to see through the manipulation. 3 months later, in March, Jessica finally called me. "Megan, I want to talk. Really talk. Not fight, not blame, just talk." "Okay. I've been thinking about what you said at Aunt Margaret's party. About family loyalty and what it really means. And I think you were right. It wasn't a full apology, but it was a start. I'm listening." "Derek came to see me last week. He wanted to rekindle things. He said that you were the problem all along, that you were jealous and vindictive, and that if we got back together, it would prove to everyone that you were lying about him." "What did you tell him?" "I told him to get lost. And then I started thinking about everything that happened, and I realized that you never asked me to choose between you and Derek. You never demanded that the family pick sides. Derek did. Derek was the one who convinced us that we had to cut you out in order to keep him." "Yes, he did. And I went along with it because Tyler had been talking about proposing, and I was scared that if you were around for Christmas, you might say something about Brad or my other relationships. I thought it would be easier to just exclude you than risk Tyler finding out the truth. The admission hung in the air between us. So you chose Derek because you thought it would protect your lies to Tyler?" "Yes. And I'm sorry. I'm really, truly sorry. It wasn't everything I wanted to hear, but it was honest. More honest than Jessica had been with me in years." "What do you want from me, Jessica?" "I want my sister back. I want to start over and try to be the kind of sister who deserves your loyalty. I want to earn back your trust." "That's going to take time. I know." We talked for 2 more hours that night. It wasn't a magical reconciliation where everything was instantly forgiven and forgotten. But it was a real conversation, probably the most honest one we had had in years. The family slowly began to heal. Christmas the following year was different, smaller, more cautious, but genuine in a way it hadn't been in a long time. Derek was a memory, Tyler had married his new girlfriend, and Jessica was working on rebuilding her life with a new commitment to honesty. Looking back, I don't regret what I did. Some people might call it manipulative or vindictive, but I call it justice. Derek had spent 2 years lying to me and then convinced my family to abandon me based on his lies. Jessica had chosen protecting her own secrets over supporting her sister. They had both made choices based on selfishness and deception. I simply made sure that the truth had a chance to surface. Sometimes, when family fails you, you have to be your own advocate. Sometimes, when people choose lies over loyalty, you have to show them the consequences of that choice. And sometimes, the best revenge isn't revenge at all, it's simply making sure that everyone has to face the truth they've been avoiding. I learned that family loyalty isn't unconditional. It's earned through honesty, trust, and genuine care for each other. Derek never earned it, but he convinced my family to give it to him anyway. Jessica had earned it from me over years of sisterhood, but she threw it away for a man and a lie. In the end, the truth was the most powerful weapon I had. I didn't have to destroy anyone or ruin any lives. I just had to make sure that the people making decisions about relationships and loyalty had access to accurate information. And that, I believe, is something everyone deserves. The rest, as they say, was up to them. But there was one more chapter to this story that I hadn't anticipated. 3 months after our conversation at my apartment, Jessica started therapy. I only found out because Mom mentioned it during one of our slowly healing phone calls. Apparently, losing Tyler had forced Jessica to confront some uncomfortable truths about herself and her patterns in relationships. "She's been going twice a week," Mom said carefully. "She told me that her therapist is helping her understand why she lies when she's scared of losing someone." It was progress, I supposed. Real progress required acknowledgement, and Jessica was finally beginning to acknowledge her role in her own downfall. In April, Jessica sent me a letter. An actual handwritten letter, not a text or email. Inside, she had written 3 pages detailing every lie she could remember telling Tyler, every half-truth she had shared with previous boyfriends, every time she had chosen deception over honesty because the truth felt too risky. At the end of the letter, she wrote, "I understand now why Tyler couldn't trust me anymore. I understand why you felt like you had to protect him from my lies. I'm not asking for forgiveness yet, because I don't think I deserve it. I'm just asking you to know that I finally understand what I did wrong." It wasn't a complete apology, but it was honest self-reflection, which was more than I had ever gotten from Derek. Tyler, meanwhile, married Claire in a small ceremony that fall. I heard about it through mutual friends. They said he looked genuinely happy, more relaxed than anyone had seen him during his relationship with Jessica. Claire, according to those same friends, was refreshingly straightforward and had shared her complete romantic history with Tyler early in their relationship. Sometimes I wondered if I had done the right thing. Sometimes I felt guilty about the pain I had caused, even though that pain was ultimately caused by Jessica's own choices. But then I would remember Tyler's face in Amanda's description, the confusion, the hurt, the betrayal he felt when he realized how extensively Jessica had lied to him. He deserved to make an informed decision about his future, and Jessica's lies had denied him that right. As for Derek, he disappeared from our lives entirely after that December confrontation. I heard through the grapevine that he had moved to another city, started over somewhere fresh where his reputation hadn't preceded him. I felt no satisfaction in his departure, but I felt relief that he could no longer manipulate my family. The lesson I learned from all of this was that sometimes love requires tough choices. Sometimes protecting someone means exposing uncomfortable truths. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone is refuse to enable their destructive patterns, even when, especially when, they're family.